Hi everyone, today's our final episode of the writing section. We are going to talk about write for an academic discussion. We previously covered the other two question types, which were the email and build a sentence. In the new version of TOEFL, questions are, it means that you should prepare smaller tasks, but the number of tasks have increased. But in any case, we should be ready for each part and practice for each part as much as we possibly can. All right, let's check what happens in this section, in this type of question for the TOEFL 2026. Write for an academic discussion or making a contribution to an academic discussion was initially brought to TOEFL in 2024, if I'm not wrong, June of 2024. It is basically a smaller, shorter version of the essay, as I told you before. So we're gonna write technically an essay, so we have to follow the standards of an essay. But so the main differences between a complete essay and this kind of question is that we have only 10 minutes and we have to write only 100 words. 10 minutes is enough for 100 words, but remember, this shows that we have very little time for checking and things like that. So you need to make sure you practice this as much as possible, that you can spend the whole 10 minutes writing your post, your reaction to the discussion, and achieve the best score. Remember, we have the same assessment criteria: the accuracy, the language, the linking words, the transitional words, as they call it in TOEFL, and using a formal language, consistently formal language, and appropriate language. All of the things that we have for essay, we have for this part as well. So that's good news. We are already kind of familiar with that. And the only challenge would be for you to manage the time. Remember, you can write more than 100 words, but you can write up to 150. The more the merrier, of course. But remember, the time is always a challenge. So we need to kind of be able to kill two birds with this. Okay, let's take a quick look at what the tasks look like. So here we have some overall. So in this section, we have the overall instructions we usually have. Usually professor is sharing something and then asking you a question, and then you will see there are already two samples from two other students in the same class, and then your sample will end up as the third point that will be added. Here we'll get back to these in a few minutes. We do have an input from the professor, which is very important because you have to draw your points based on that input, all right? And then express and support an opinion. That's the main goal of an essay. We know that clearly. Make a contribution to the discussion. This is something very interesting. This is something very new. This is where the other two students kind of come into play. So now we know what to do. We need to express our opinion and we need to contribute to the discussion that's already happening by the professor and by the students. So what we need to do is we need to quickly read these three paragraphs, these three inputs, and kind of summarize them in their main, just what is their main point? Do they agree, disagree? What is the point? All right. So I read this, I take some notes here, and then this student is on the side that she's gonna agree, and this student is gonna disagree with the point that is made with the student. Now, I'm not gonna give you an answer right here. I'm just gonna tell you how to approach this part. So after you read the points and you summarize them for yourself here or somewhere on your notes, now it will be easier for you when you're writing. It will be easier for you to refer to these points and focus on them better. So do not depend on reading these three paragraphs again and again, because in the middle of writing, it will waste a lot of time and it might confuse you further. Okay, remember, it's an essay, so there is a point of discussion and there are agreements or disagreements, all right? So what is the point of discussion? Let's quickly read it. Volunteerism refers to the act of offering your time and service without financial compensation to benefit a community, organization, or cause. All right. While many people volunteer mainly to help others, some institutions have mandatory volunteer programs. Blah, 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 blah. High schools are one example where students may be required to a certain to complete a certain number of volunteer hours to graduate. What do you think? This is the most important. So back to the essay question. Express your opinion. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Or do you sit on the fence? Should high school students be required to do volunteer work? That's the main discussion. So think about it. What is your standpoint? I usually recommend my students to make a decision quickly when you're summarizing and taking notes. Make a quick decision. Do you agree or disagree? So let's say you agree. Fine. Try to actually think of two reasons. So if you agree, think of two reasons why you agree. So for example, I agree that it should be required. One reason would be social benefits. The other reason would be work experience for students. That's why I agree. You may disagree. That's fine. That's completely fine. You can disagree and then think of one or two reasons why you disagree. There is also a third option through which you may sit on the fence. It means that you do not completely agree or do not completely disagree. This is interesting. It is possible. Yes, you can do that. But the problem is that writing this kind of reaction clearly is a little bit difficult. So if you're not confident in your language, if you're not confident with your experience with essays, I recommend that you just take one side, either agree or disagree, and then support that. Why I say this? Because when you agree or disagree and then you have reasons for that, you're able to express your opinion more clearly than when you're going to sit on the fence. Because when you're sitting on the fence, you're sometimes tipping to one side, tipping to the other side. So it may end up a bit unclear for the reader. So yes, it's possible, but it's a little bit risky if you ask me. If you have a lot of experience writing multiple essays, then go for it. Be my guest. I have put 3 examples of answers, 3 sample responses to this particular question. One of them agrees, one of them disagrees, and one of them sits on the fence. So go figure. Now we made a decision about our point of view. Now we need to also contribute to the other. We also need to make contributions to the overall discussions, what others are thinking. So she agreed in this case, but he disagreed. All right. I may be able to react to their points. If you look at these answers, they're interesting little responses that you can actually use as a model as well. Let's look at one of them. It says, yes, I think high school students require volunteer hours because, so she said her opinion and then she is giving a reason. It helps students build a sense of civic responsibility. And then she starts by giving examples and explanations. Many teenagers don't naturally think blah, 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 blah. This one disagrees and then also continues to explain why he disagrees. Remember, this is your opinion. Feel free to express your opinion. Don't worry about it. But you need to do one step more than these two here, and you need to kind of react to the discussion as well. So for example, if you agree, so you're on par with this woman. All right, so you can say, you can express that you're sitting on the same side and you're going to support the same opinion, but your examples might be different, or you disagree, or you do not agree with either of them, so you're sitting on the fence. You can say, yeah, while I strongly believe that the other students have valid reasons, I believe that, and then you write the rest of your small essay. I keep calling it essay because it is an essay. It doesn't have introduction and conclusion, blah blah, but it is only 100 words, but still it is an essay because we are expressing opinion and we are. Once again, in summary, what we need to do. We need to get main points, main ideas, react to it. So this is how I would organize my essay. All right, so let's say this is my 100 word essay. Paragraphs don't matter here, so don't worry much about it. Okay, I'm gonna use colors so that we can start, okay, with expressing your opinion. Then you need to react to the others. It can be more than one sentence. These are just for example. All right. And then you need to support your standpoint. 100 words. Okay, so this was just an example to give you an idea. All right, so I started by expressing my opinion clearly. Do it at the beginning of your essay, then react to others' discussion, make a contribution, and finally try to express why you are of such an opinion. You can use examples, you can use reasons, you can use personal experience, as long as it's relevant to the discussion at hand. For example, in this case, it was about volunteerism to be required in high schools. You can go back to your own experience and use them to support your point. Either you agree or disagree. Okay, that's it with that's all with the academic discussion. Remember, in summary, it's an essay. We have to write consistently formal. I will put a link to a list of a table that shows the differences between formal, informal, and semi-informal. So make sure you check that all the time. Remember, writing is a process. In this process, there is writing, feedback, rewriting. Okay, so do not write a billion writings without checking or whatever. Write something, have it checked by AI, by your teacher, by somebody higher level than you. Work on the feedback, rewrite it, do it again. Do this cycling until you are fully ready to write a perfect writing. And always remember that one of the key factors to success is time. Time is a limitation, and we need to be able to work on that very well. We also have things like spelling and other things. We're going to talk about that in our session about practicing. But remember that, of course, checking your spelling and handwriting, all of this is important. When you're practicing at home, do not worry much about time. Give yourself, like, instead of 10 minutes, give yourself 20 minutes. When you're happy with your results, bring that time down to 15 minutes, to 12 minutes, to 10 minutes, until you're happy with the timing and everything. If you have any questions, remember to ask me in the comment section. I'll be happy to help you out, and I'll see you in the next lesson.